welcome to this week's Geeky Grapplers podcast. I am the host for this week, Ian, and I am once again joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Cthulhu, Flipper, and of course, Breaker, who is back for this week's episode. Woo! Woohoo! Woo!
Welcome back, Breaker.
Welcome back, Breaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Why
not
did you give me my full name?
That's fine for it was,
I'm only Lulu on the actual podcast.
So yeah, episode 3 of the podcast. We're getting these out late again. My fault this time, doesn't matter. But once again, we are here to grapple with issues concerning both pro wrestling and geekdom. And to start things off, we got to talk about the very obvious news of this week. You know, the most important news, and that is Lars Sullivan has finally been fired from WWE. Let's go! Yes!
You just blown everyone's ears out with that. But yes, he is gone.
Yes, he's gone. Yes! Oh,
Man, imagine being a Nazi and lasting longer than, like, Rusev.
But yes, Lars Sullivan is finally gone from WWE after all the allegations. We won't go into it because, quite frankly, we don't want to give him as much time as we already have. So
we're not kicking that hornet's nest.
Yeah, that hornet's nest has been kicked many a times, so we'll leave it be. But the real obvious important news is that this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, and of course, big spoilers, the best boy from Bullet Club, Kenta has made it to AEW. You're
just like stealing my limelight here, bro.
Yeah, I really. What would you like to discuss?
My boy Kenta, my boy Kenta asserted his rightful place by kicking open the Forbidden Door and murdering John Moxley, which was great. I can't put into words how great this is right now. It's the best thing that's happened in pro wrestling since AEW.
Yeah, I remember you saying that it's opened the doors to so much. Like, there is now so many, routes that this can go to. It's early doors, obviously, but it's a good start. It's definitely a good start.
Yeah, the impact one was like kind of the beginning of the door slightly opening, but now with this, it's like doors like almost open.
I'd argue NWA was a good start as well. Just getting
From what I've read online, the deal was done basically as soon as they had the Impact stuff sorted. That's why Kenny could come out with the Bullet Club merch at Hard to Kill. Was that they had it already set up then? It was just a matter of like timing it out, basically.
Right. Nice.
Because they knew they had to have Moxley defend the US belt, and they knew that the only way they could do that would be in the US because they couldn't get him off AEW, so they had to have a deal between AEW because AEW restricted its performers performing anywhere except for outside the US.
Yeah. I mean, it's great news. It's genuinely good news.
I'd just like to issue a statement that you may, in fact, be able to start calling it Bullet Club at some point soon, in contrast to last week's episode title. We will confirm or deny this later on.
What rating is it on the Too Sweet meter?
Oh, it's I can't do that off of...
No, say it.
I can't do like random. Also, I'll get sued by them. Copywriting.
Moving on. Speaking of AEW, though, they've announced that they're announcing that Kenta will be on AEW Dynamite on February 10th, teaming with Kenny Omega to face Lance Archer and Jon Moxley
in a lights out unsanctioned match.
Yes, in a lights out unsanctioned match. This is going to be great. It's just going to be violence.
Yes.
It's just going to be violence, and I think
it's
just what we want. We want violence. We are sick individuals, us wrestling fans.
Yep.
I like to point out this is episode 3, and we're trying to get people into wrestling, and you've just gone, we're all a bunch of psychopaths.
Well, you know.
All wrestling is violence, and there's nothing else to it. Ian, 2021.
At the best.
This is why you're going to get cancelled, Ian.
I know. But moving on from me being cancelled, AEW have also announced their Women's Championship Contendership Tournament. And I quite like what they're doing with this, is they've got the two separate brackets are the American based wrestlers and the Japanese-based wrestlers. So I will start with the American-based ones. We have got Serena Deeb, Britt Baker, Riho, Ty Conti, Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, Anna Jay, and Layla Hirsch. And the Japanese side, we have got Aya Kong, Yuka Sakazaki, Veni, Emi Sakura, Ryu Mizunami, Mei Saruya, Rin Kodakura, and Maki Ito. I like
to the last one of them with the
most gusto.
Yeah.
I would like to now formally apologize to any of those Japanese wrestlers. I did not mean to get your name wrong, and I will very gladly not do it again.
We just force them to do it because it's funny.
But opinions on what looks like AEW trying to get more women's wrestling?
Anything better than how it was last year. Like, it looks more interesting now, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I am slightly wondering if this isn't just a product of the fact that they've agreed a deal with New Japan, who are owned by Bushiroad, who own Stardom.
They're just gonna keep making connections, just keep going.
And as a result, they've brought in more Joshi wrestlers from that.
Yes.
I'm very pleased with it because I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to watch two different, basically, streams, because half of it's coming from Japan and half of it's coming from the US.
Yeah, it's gonna be really weird to see if they can connect it all together, or if it's gonna be very jarring when they're just like, oh, we're in Japan now, you gotta deal with it. That'd be very strange.
So who are we choosing to win it?
Maki Ito, obviously.
Yuka Sakazaki.
It's instantly.
It's got to be Maki Ito.
It's gotta be Maki Ito.
Yeah.
It's Yuka.
All right, you can have your genie. We're gonna have our queen that we all simp for.
We don't all simp for hating.
All of us, Ian.
But she is the queen of the simps. I mean, look at the tweet.
Yeah,
Obviously.
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to edit in now, aren't you, Ian?
Yes, this one that I am definitely referring to right now.
And you're going to edit in the other tweet that I've saved for you.
Yes, of course.
No, you're going to edit in, and then what you're going to do, you're going to make it do a 360 on the screen, like that.
Don't. Oh. I'm so glad I bought Adobe Premiere for this.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that's a different point.
Okay.
Anyway,
We're not sponsored by Adobe. Other video editing products are available.
Yes. That's it for AEW news. New Japan news. I think the big one is that they've got a new TV deal for the US, Canada, and the UK on Roku TV. First question is, first question is, does anyone own Roku TV?
I used to. That's how I was like Crunchyroll and stuff on TV.
Ah, well, might want to get it again so we can watch New Japan.
No.
But no, it's genuinely, it's a good start. It's a good start to see that they're branching out a lot more into the Western market, because they know at this point that they've got an audience in the West, and it's going to be really good to hopefully get some new eyes on New Japan, because it's one of the best wrestling promotions in the world.
Also,
not biased. But...
Yeah, we're unbiased. Yeah. But just to compound the point we've made a few weeks ago, Ian, Jay White is back on the profile section.
Right, good.
Which is good. And also, he did get name dropped in a tweet of the aftermath of AEW. He got name dropped at the Switchblade. Kenny name dropped him, to be clear. So maybe hinting at something with that.
Perhaps. I'd be excited for that.
Yeah.
That'd be very exciting. Also, in New Japan news, we have now got the 32nd Never Openweight champion in Hiroshi Tanahashi, who defeated...
Got it right.
Who defeated Shingo?
It was Shingo.
Yeah, Shingo Takagi. At New Beginning in Sapporo.
No, Nagoya.
You told me Sapporo when we were...
I corrected myself when we did this, Ian.
Well, now we've done it live on the podcast, so we got
Good job.
Congratulations. And as we all know, this is live and it cannot be edited, and that's just going to be there forever.
Yep, of course. Yeah, that's great for Tanahashi. I mean,
I feel like he's a transitional champion.
Yeah, I don't think he fits the style of Never. I think that's a fair assumption to say. When you think of people like the most recent champions who have been like Takagi, Minoru Suzuki, like, does Tanahashi fit in that Never role? I'd argue not.
The only way he does is if you treat it as that they've tied up the IC belt in the world title, so the Never belt's moved up to be the workhorse belt, like an IC belt is.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can think about, like, making an equivalence between the two.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, 100%. We've gone quite a long intro on this one, so we'll do the very, very last bit of news. The Royal Rumble was this week. I think
it's pretty good.
It was a good show. It was actually a really, really good show. I think the best places to talk about were probably the Rumble matches. Personally, I think the Women's Rumble was the better of the two.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, and Bianca Belair winning the Rumble basically sets her up for a great push to WrestleMania.
I thought Rhea was going to win because how dominant she was.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved Rhea Ripley to win. I don't think I've expressed it on the podcast yet, but she's my favorite wrestler in WWE. Favorite female wrestler in WWE. Sorry, I just really want her to do well, but the streak that she got of just eliminating everyone, it makes me excited. And then Edge.
Was she the one who eliminated Alexa doing her that fiend bit?
Yeah, Alexa started like turning into like the psychotic fiend controlled Alexa, and Rhea just like grabs her and throws her out before she can do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the best. That was such a good moment.
Thing, yeah.
For the men's one, it was fine. I don't really remember much from it, really, other than Carlito. Carlito came back. And Christian came back. Edge won it, which I'm not sure was the best choice.
I'm fine with Edge winning, really.
My only problem with it is that I don't know who you would have him face.
Are they going for like Drew? No.
Well, he's made the rounds on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So they're trying to tease Drew, Finn Balor, and Roman Reigns, which, in my opinion, all three of those matches would be good. I just don't see Edge winning any of them.
Surely you do Reigns, because then you do spear versus spear.
You would think.
No, I actually saw a tweet about this. Said if Edge faces Roman and Drew, they can have a whole spear and the whole arena just collapses.
Yeah, I think for 2021 first pay-per-view for WWE, I think the Royal Rumble was pretty strong.
Yeah, that was strong.
Goldberg lost.
So Goldberg lost. Yes, that's a good way to end the intro of this third episode of the podcast.
What about the Roman KO botch?
Oh, okay. Well, we'll end it on the KO botch. So, have you heard about this botch, Lulu and Fox?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I
have not.
They had a last man standing match, and
I knew that.
They were on like they were on the outside, like just to the side of the stage, like at the ramp, and Kevin Owens handcuffed Roman Reigns to like the floor on one of the like pillars, and like so he couldn't get up and stand up. But then, as the referee got to 9, Roman pulled him into like the bollard, and it like knocked him out.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the idea, that was the plan.
Oh, okay.
The next plan was that Paul Heyman, who has the key to the handcuff, was going to unlock him from the handcuffs as the second referee came out. The problem was as the referee started counting the 10 count, Paul Heyman couldn't open the handcuffs. And the referee got to 9 and just stopped counting because he realized that he'd messed up. So Roman Reigns had to like struggle himself into like a squat. So he was like Slav squatting on the floor, like so he just got his feet up as Paul Heyman is still struggling with the handcuffs. It was the worst botch. But luckily the match was still really, really good. But
and then like 2 minutes later, he did a Rikishi and just ran over KO.
Oh yeah, yes, he then ran over. He followed in his his cousin's footsteps. But no, we're serious. The Royal Rumble was a good show, guys. For real.
It actually was. Yeah,
it was.
But wow, 16
the Rumble was
minute.
much better, but the matches kind of forgettable matches, but the rest was pretty good.
Yeah, the wrestling itself was really good for sure.
Not the matches, not the wrestling.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But with this near 17-minute intro, I think it's definitely time to move on to the main topic of the day's show. So, as we mentioned in episode 2 of the podcast, now that we've got all 4 of us here, we're going to be talking about our perceptions of wrestling. And I'm gonna give this to Lulu so he can explain what we mean by our perceptions of wrestling, just so you guys get a good idea of what this section's going to be mainly based on.
Okay, well, thank you, Ian. So what we're going to do basically is go through what got us into wrestling, why we may have stopped watching wrestling at any point, and what's got us back into it, and basically what our current viewpoint on wrestling is, and what we see wrestling as, like what forms the basis for our opinions, to try and give you basically the ability to understand where our opinions are coming from.
It's kind of like our origin story, but then also like why that origin story has brought us to where we are today.
Yeah, and on a lot of things we've agreed before, but it'll show where our big differences lie.
Yeah, we're definitely in like passing when we've talked about this before, just like on our own. It's very obvious that we've all got differing opinions. And different viewpoints, and you'll see this in our in our stories. So who would like to go first?
So I'm going to go first because I have the shortest time period of 4 of us, basically, which is true, like, objectively. Because unlike, I think, everyone else here, I can name the first match I watched, the first pay-per-view I watched, and also, like, the exact dates as such. Because the first match I ever saw of wrestling, and what started off me watching wrestling, was Seth Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania 33. And I watched the rest of WrestleMania 33 from there on. So, yeah, I have the shortest frame of opinions of all 4 of us.
It's only just occurred to me, I'm terribly sorry to start off with a tangent already. How did you start watching at Seth Rollins Triple H on WrestleMania?
Okay, well, I can tell you exactly why it is.
Excellent.
Because my brother, who is a wrestling fan and has been watching since he was basically since the 90s, because he was born in 1989. Like, he was watching Mania, and I just decided to start watching it. And I can tell you the reason why I decided to watch it that day as well, because I used to be into watching lots of vloggers, and Emma Blackery was watching it, and I thought, I'll give it a try, see what it's like.
I did not know that. I did not know that you liked watching Emma Blackery, and that she was one of the reasons you just started watching wrestling. That's pretty cool.
She did like a predictions video for it, and then like on the day I was like, oh, it was like 10 minutes, like, okay, I'll watch it. It seems interesting. I will say I had like a passing knowledge of it because a lot of people I watched like as a teenager were into it. Like, I'm a massive fan of Total Biscuit. He was a massive wrestling fan, right? To the point where he had Xavier Woods on the Co-optional podcast.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Forgot about that.
Yeah. So I basically had always had, like, I'd always known of wrestling and I knew about things that happened in it, but I wasn't like, I never had that, like, thing that drew me to actually just watch it at all. I never had any impetus to just be like, yes, I want to watch Raw and SmackDown or whatever. But I just decided to on a whim, basically, and I just started following it after that. And I started with WWE, as I presume everyone else did. but my perspective is probably I'm probably the one here who has the most easy to change taste because I go into it as an adult, basically. I'm an adult fan and I've never had that like childhood attachment to any character or figure. I don't have a nostalgia for anything because the first thing I watched of wrestling was when I was 16.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair thing to say because, like, as you'll see, a lot of us were very young when we started watching. I think from when we've spoken before, it does show when we'll talk about like older wrestlers that you have like you only know like of their current work than like their previous work, and so you haven't seen a lot of the older stuff, so you kind of don't have some of the knowledge. But that then doesn't make your opinions on the matter any less valid. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I like a lot of indie wrestling and also like different kinds of wrestling. It's also probably why I like technical wrestling more. I am a massive fan of technical wrestling. I like very complex, like I like the art form of wrestling. I like how it's made, like in the ring. I like this idea of the cleverness of making fake sports into what looks like reality.
Yeah,
it's a really clever art form. That's what I really like about wrestling. So I'd say I don't really like I wouldn't say I don't like comedy, because I do like comedy wrestling, because I think comedy wrestling is one of the best avenues for creativity. But I don't like, probably campy would be the best way of phrasing it. Yeah?
I think the way I would describe it is holiday camp wrestling, which is a big style in the UK where like touring shows will just go to like Butlins or Havens and stuff like that, and just run like kids shows, family shows.
Yeah, I'm not, obviously I'm not a fan of like edgelord stuff. I don't like stupidly dark for the sake of being dark, because obviously then I'd like deathmatch stuff, and I hate deathmatch wrestling, right? But I have had that such a short time in wrestling that you have to think of my perspective in wrestling was April 2017, about April 2017 to probably May 2018. I watched WWE as a WWE fan, I suppose, would be the best way to word it. Because I watched Raw and SmackDown. I would occasionally watch NXT, but obviously I didn't have network all the time, so I wouldn't watch it all the time. After Backlash 2018, I stopped watching the weekly TV shows because, God, that was a crap pay-per-view. It was one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever watched.
That wasn't the pay-per-view where Jinder won, was it?
No, that was the pay-per-view with Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Charlotte Carmella.
Yeah.
It was a terrible SmackDown pay-per-view, I believe. No, it was both brands on it. It was just terrible.
It was just a mixed brand, but it was not a good show.
It was a dreadful show, and it made me just give up on watching it, basically. But I still watched pay-per-views, and I watched takeovers. And my first takeover I watched was Brooklyn 3.
Ooh, that's a good start.
It's a fantastic start, and probably pushed me towards a lot of the stuff that I like now, because I think probably the two best matches on that are Hideo Itami, my boy Kenta versus Aleister Black, and Ember Moon versus Asuka, which is still my favourite women's match of all time.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout for favourite women's match.
I think that's one of the best women's matches I've ever seen.
Definitely.
But then you have to then consider that mid-2018, oh look, there's this Dominion pay-per-view by New Japan Pro Wrestling that's getting a big up, because it has this 7.25 star match on it. And that's what pushed me into New Japan, was not just because I watched Okada Omega 4, and I had seen the other Okada Omegas before that, but what pushed me into New Japan was I watched all of Dominion. I didn't just watch Okada Omega, I watched the entire show of Dominion. And that's probably one of the best, like most consistently good individual pay-per-views I've ever watched up to that point. It just, every match on that card worked really well. And that was what really drew me into New Japan. And that was when I started really getting into New Japan and watching New Japan. But obviously, it didn't, I wasn't fully in it because I didn't watch the G1 that year and I stuff like that. But again, so we gone from I watched basically exclusively WWE with some bits outside of it to I watched less WWE and more New Japan, and then AEW happened. So the thing that's probably the last 2 years has probably been the biggest influence on why my perspectives have formulated how they are now, because I know you didn't watch it then because you weren't into New Japan, but I sat there on January 4th, 2019, watching the last matches of the Elite in New Japan, where 4 days later they would go and announce that they were, forming a new wrestling company.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had, I remember watching Mania that year, which was this great Mania. Mania 35 is my favourite of the 3 Manias that I've seen of them, the modern era.
It's definitely the strongest one out of the ones you've had since you've watched.
Yeah. And I'm sure I will be talking probably more about Mania 35 because I think probably that 2018 from end of 2018 to WrestleMania 35, I think WWE did a really good job with its pay-per-views because I remember watching most of them. And I remember thinking most of them were at least good.
Yeah, that's a very good shout. They had a really, really good run. They usually do. They usually do coming up to WrestleMania because they know what they're going to do on the shows. So they're like, okay, this is because. Sorry to go on a bit of a tangent, but that's kind of how the best wrestling stories happen. Is that you know where you want to end up and you work backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
You want it to be Roman Reigns versus Edge. Okay, so at this pay-per-view we do this pay-per-view we do this pay-per-view we do this. We'll start it here, and you make a good story out of it.
And also, we got to consider that in the in the same year, you had the Ciampa and Gargano matches, which, while probably I won't like them as much if I went back to them now, were absolutely one of the peaks of combining technical wrestling and storytelling. Yeah, agreed.
Definitely.
They're absolutely fantastic. All of however many of those matches there are. There's quite a few.
Quite a lot now. It's 4 or 5.
But yeah, that was a really good year. But I'd say probably 2018, 2019. 2018 definitely was. I started watching New Japan. I started watching more NXT than I did main roster WWE. And then 2019, AEW started, and I really liked pretty much everything that AEW did in 2019. 2019 was pretty much they had a perfect run for that first part, really, didn't they?
Definitely, yeah. That 2019 run up to the start of the pandemic was strong.
It was probably one of the strongest openings for any wrestling promotion. But the other thing in 2019 that most impacted probably was I watched the G1 for the first time. I watched the entirety of the G1 29. It's great. Great G1. Absolutely fantastic G1, right? But that's probably what pushed me into going, man, I don't actually really like WWE style that much. I like this, right? So that was probably one of the biggest pushes towards why because it gave me an appreciation for different things. That's one of the things that was always kind of weird to me now is thinking back is that I was very much how you get new people into wrestling or someone who's not very convinced into it is cruiserweights, right? I always used to really like cruiserweights. I like flippy stuff. I liked whatever. And now I like slow, techy, heavy-hitting, brawls that are also, artistry.
Yeah, it's very... I can definitely agree with that, because immediately when I'm thinking back, when I'm oh yeah, when I was a kid, my favorite wrestlers were the Hardy Boys and Rey Mysterio and the guys that did all the flippy moves. And nowadays it's no, I like the people who can tell a story with their moves, and I'll obviously talk about when I get to my point, but yeah, I completely
like that. Like I think probably the biggest impact of that, and one of the things was, and I've used the word impact a lot. It's like a buzzword at the minute. But the biggest effect on me was the first match of the G129. Right, was Lance Archer versus Will Ospreay. Now I'd known Ospreay, didn't know Archer. Now obviously Archer's a big man. He's a brawly man, right? But they worked really well together, and it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is also really good. Even if you ground someone like Will Ospreay, because it was a very much a grounding match, or one where he couldn't get the upper hand, because he was still a bit flippier then. Even then, it's still a good match. And then I think I've just been pushed more into that because, like, obviously I watched the G1 with you guys, and I watched loads of New Japan last year because we all started watching it basically. So that's probably why I like New Japan style so much, because I feel like you can really make anything with New Japan. You can make someone. There's like 6 different sides of the coin. You can have someone super basic, but who has such a powerful character aura like Okada. You can have this plucky underdog in Naito. You can have this cheating little chaos ball that is Toriano, and you can have the pure dumb boy that is Kota Ibushi, who kicks your head off. And all of them work under the same thing. Obviously, my favorite, Shingo. Who's going to batter the hell out of you.
If you had to like summarize where your opinions of wrestling are, like if you were to go to someone and be like, what does wrestling mean to you? How would you like summarize it?
Wrestling is a theatre play with athletes beating the hell out of each other.
Okay, that's a really interesting perception of it. That like how quickly you got invested in indie wrestling, because for some people it takes a long time, but for yourself you realize quite soon on that you were like, oh, this style's really good. I think it's safe to say I think AEW definitely helped with that. Is that safe to say that like once AEW came in 2019, it kind of like clicked with you what your perception
I'd say
is?
I probably was being pushed towards it sooner than that, because like the G1 in 2019, God, it's hard to keep up. It was still in like June, July time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good
So there was
point.
only 2 AEW events before then. There was Fyter Fest and there was Double or Nothing. There wasn't enough of AEW. I feel like AEW coming along has shifted the market a lot and has made it much easier for people to see like indie wrestlers, because they're much more willing to take a chance on people than WWE is.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just widened the market more than it has pushed my interest personally.
Yeah, that's a very good origin story. Thank you for sharing.
How long was that?
About 18 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was worried it'd be like half an hour, and it'd be like,
no, you're good. You're good.
I've only been doing it for 4 years. Oh no.
No, well, this next one's going to be interesting because I believe we've decided this Breaker is going next. So Breaker, take the stage.
So completely being the opposite of Lulu, I'll arguably the longest person here who has watched wrestling. I believe it's weird. I remember starting watching it in 2003, but I can't remember anything about it. I really got into it from a DVD, and it wasn't even like a pay-per-view DVD. It was like one of those match DVDs.
Oh, was it like one of those like best of Raw or best of SmackDown kind of DVDs? Yeah,
it's like best of in this case, best of ladder matches, TLC matches.
That's such a specific DVD.
Yeah, I think it was WWE Ladders match or something, if what it was called.
That's great.
So, and I remember watching one of the matches. So this is the weirdest first match I ever watched. It was the WrestleMania 17, I believe, the TLC Triple Threat match. That was the first match I've ever watched.
Wow, that's a strong first match.
And I was like, wait, why are these people bad? Why are these people really hurting each other? Wait, is this real? Are they gonna be okay?
This is interesting because you're the first person where you thought wrestling was real.
Yeah.
So yeah, please.
Because I was like, oh, that guy got hit by a chair really hard.
That's an interesting point as well. Is that I always knew wrestling was fake.
Yeah, and that didn't change your opinion on it, which was super interesting. But Breaker, during your real years, what made you realize, oh, this might be fake?
Ian, you can't just say real years. Is it still real to you, damn it? Ian,
it still ruined me. Nah.
Wait, is wrestling not real?
oh, we'll tell you after the podcast, man. It's fine.
Okay.
So I think the era when I was like, oh, this shit's rubbish, fake, is when I was in secondary school, and that was like kind of peer pressuring to that because everyone I knew didn't like wrestling, and I always said, oh, that's fake, right? Those kind of crowds.
Yeah, you had the assholes. Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you, Ian, for being the first person to swear on this.
You're welcome.
So like I think I stopped watching wrestling at like 2009, I believe. I'm not sure if that's the worst. That or 2010 was the worst era. So
honestly, you missed the worst year, so you're doing pretty well.
But the weirdest thing is, I stopped watching wrestling and made fun of it a lot, but I still played the games. Like, yes. So like, I didn't watch wrestling during 2009, but I played SmackDown vs. Raw in 2010.
Nice.
And I was really confused. Like, who's CM Punk? Who's this guy? Who's this guy?
That's really funny.
What's I was like, wait, ECW's back? What? So that was a very weird era for me.
That's great. What then brought you back then from 2009?
Well, I finally left secondary. I was kind of more like open to stuff. I was like, I'll give wrestling another chance. And I watched, I believe it was something in 2015, I think. I think that's when I went back and was like, wait, who's the Shield? I think that, so yeah, I was like, oh, John Cena, Triple H is still doing it. That's weird. I've been watching them when I was a kid.
And that's okay.
So I kind of just went back into it from there. And plus the video games helped a lot as well.
Were you still playing the video games while you were having your time off?
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay.
I definitely was.
Nice.
Although I think I stopped doing the 2K era when that began. I bought 2K13 and kind of just... No, WD13, I mean. And I just stopped.
Yeah, you stopped at a decent one. You stopped at a decent one. But that's a really interesting way of coming back in. Because that's to me, that's quite the... And no offense at all. It's kind of how most people get back into it. Is they go, oh, it's that person from when I used to watch it as a kid. And then you go, and then they bring you in, and then you start looking at, I'm trying to think of people from 2015. There's The Shield. There's Enzo and Cass. There's... Big E is doing a thing with the New Day.
Wasn't he with the Miz? Who's these two other people? Why is Kofi Kingston in Bright, not Jamaican anymore?
Oh my god. So...
Oh, wait, I just remembered. I kind of looked something. When did Edge retire the first time?
That was when 2011, yeah.
Was it? Because I remember I'll be watching with my dad and it's like, wait, Edge retired? And I think that's when I stopped watching wrestling. That I had a bit of a resurgence, then like, wait, my favorite's gone? Then just stopped.
Damn, that's rough. That's rough seeing that. That was not a nice thing to watch.
It wasn't, no.
I'd also like to ask then, Breaker, I think it's interesting what, like, you say you stopped while you were in secondary school, but like, why would you say that you came back to it? Like I can think of stuff that I liked prior to secondary school, didn't watch or, or hated on in secondary school and then left or got to the end of secondary school and started watching. So I'll say that that's probably one of the best things of wrestling for me, was it came at a time at which I started coming out of my arsehole teenager phase, because it was one of those things I tried along with anime and different things. So what brought you into wanting to be a wrestling fan again?
I guess I was just curious and see what it was now, because all these new names and pay-per-views and looks. I guess that's kind of it. And keep in mind, I didn't have no idea what any other brands were, companies at the time were. I first got exposed to TNA from the game. I remember that game.
Which game? Sorry,
the TNA game.
Oh my god, yeah. I really like that game. I really like that game. That's probably a trash taste, but I think that game's super fun.
It's actually alright. I will give it. But you can imagine I was confused. Wait, why is Kurt Angle here? Wait, why is Christian here? Why is
Was that your introduction to indie wrestling? Was the TNA game?
It kind of was, yeah. Now I think about it.
So,
because I had no idea what WCW or Ring of Honor was too. So I was wait, what? I thought.
Let's be clear here that Breaker's indie wrestling knowledge is a real gamer moment, guys.
It's a real gamer moment. So you've come you've come back in 2015 through the legends of the past and introducing the newer ones. Where does that bring you to from 2015 to now? What else did you discover or look and watch?
Well, it's obviously not the same as it was. That's pretty obvious. I still watch it occasionally, not every week. But I still interested in see what happens, even if it gets really bad. That's obviously, and now obviously I know a lot about more indie shows, so I watch them too, like AEW. And AEW is not indie one, but I still watch that. I watch that almost more than WWE now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. What if TNA was if the TNA game was your introduction to indie wrestling? What was your first indie wrestling show that you watched, and what was it? What was it that made you watch it?
I think it was actually a TNA pay-per-view. I can't remember which one now. TNA's not even indie as well. I'm just
oh, that's such a terrible time to join TNA as well. It's 2015.
Yeah.
So you kind of experimented with TNA and went on from there. Okay. So what do you tend to watch now? In a day, in a week, what would you set your eyes on?
Well, AEW and WWE, like I said, I can't actually remember how I got into New Japan. I just remembered someone talking about it on YouTube, I think. I was like, oh wow, these guys are really strong. Oh god, how are these guys still going?
Did someone not tell them that it's not real?
No, stop, Suzuki. He's already dead.
So
yeah, it was like, oh wow, wrestling's not real, but that must have hurt. Damn.
So similar.
I think
question,
that's where I got Oh, sorry. Go on.
Similar question to what I asked with Lulu is, how would you describe your perception of wrestling from when you were a kid watching it to now? What is now your opinion on wrestling? What is it to you?
I just think that if you're gonna go really over dramatic, over the top, go with it, be really really on the nose about it, be it is I think Lulu said it's a soap opera, so but be really and just beat each other up in the most over dramatic way possible.
So you kind of the OTT exaggeration of wrestling.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
You like things to be big, whoa. This
not all the way, but it's I like to see how they go about it.
Okay, yeah, that's a really interesting way, because it's very different to it's kind of different to Lulu, where it's like Lulu likes the more mechanical, technical side, whereas you kind of like the kind of like the exaggeration, like with like the holiday camp shows, because holiday camp shows are really, really exaggerated and played up for the family audience. So I'm not saying your favorite type of wrestling is family shows, bearing in mind. But yeah, I feel like if we were to all go to a family show, you would probably enjoy it more than Lulu would. I think that's a fair thing to say. Question mark.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Like, be over the top, I have a good time with it.
Yeah, I like that. It should always be fun at the end of the day. It's wrestling. It's wrestling. And I believe third on the podium is Flips.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. American of the group.
Yeah, and you can't do that. It's racist discrimination.
Yeah. Cuts commercial. Ian, we need to talk. We need to talk. Ian, we need to talk. Ian, look, you can't be doing this, man. Look, I like you, but you can't be doing this.
Like, I love you too, but like my point is that like wrestling is immensely more popular in America. So my interest is like where you fit in with that when you're in the area that wrestling is so prevalent.
I used to have a John Cena t-shirt that I'd wear to school.
Is that your origin?
So I got into it, because it was just on TV. It was just on cable. Not cable. It was on Comcast. We had Comcast, but Raw and SmackDown every day after school. I'd be like, oh man, I can't wait till I think it was 7. It would start to just sit down and watch wrestling twice a week.
So what was like your first match, first memory?
Oh, I have no clue, because I was in elementary school. I was a small flipper. I was very small. Really, the only thing I remember is I had a DVD. It's the SmackDown Greatest of 2009 to 2010.
Yeah. That DVD is great.
And I remember one specific match because it was the 8-man tag team.
Oh Jesus, I don't recall that one.
It had like John Cena and Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes and stuff.
Oh wow, yeah, it had like it sounds like it just has like the bee's knees of WWE wrestling.
It really did. It really did.
Jeez, what year are we talking then? Like around 2009 when you were starting?
Oh yeah, probably like 2008, 2009, maybe 2007. I got into it.
Okay.
And then I'm not saying that this is a causality, but it's easy for me to remember that around the time Brock Lesnar started joining, so around 2012 is when I was kind of like getting out of it. And when he won in 2014 against The Undertaker, who was at the time my favorite wrestler, I stopped watching.
Wow. You stopped at the streak. Wow.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, it's only just occurred to me that actually made a lot of people stop watching.
I didn't know what I wanted to watch it, really. So I just kind of stopped. And I took a break until some other people dragged me back into it.
Those other people beat us.
Yeah.
You stopped at 2014. We all started to know each other around 2016, 2017. So
we met Flips in 2018, early 2018.
Fair enough. So 2018, you meet us, and we go, "Hey, there's this wrestling thing."
We're all a bunch of wrestling nerds. Spend time with us.
My memory is terrible. What was the first thing we showed him?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Mania. Maybe me and Breaker watched Mania with him.
Maybe. I don't really remember. Because, it took me time to get really into it, and I wasn't actually into it until we watched AEW, but then one thing in specific happened. Orange Cassidy made the announcement that he was joining AEW. I was like, yo, who is this guy? And I YouTubed and I looked up some of his previous matches. And I fell in love with comedy wrestling basically as soon as I watched the first match.
So
What was his first AEW match? Let me just check.
his first AEW match was the one with Pac.
No, I mean, no, because he was in an earlier match than that.
No, it was in Royal. Is it Battle Royale, wasn't it?
Was he? Yeah, was he?
Was he in the Casino Battle Royal?
I thought he
Yeah,
was.
I'm pretty sure. I think he was. Yeah.
Oh, I could have sworn his first match was Pac, but I could be wrong.
And let me go on his Fight DB.
Yeah. So why you do that? Might be an obvious question, but what was it about Orange Cassidy that?
Yes, he was in there.
intrigued? Okay.
It's that it was funny. It was fun. It was funny, and it was enjoyable for me to watch. And that's why I like Toriano and stuff now too. Because I feel like I genuinely enjoy comedy wrestling almost as much as some like the great technical spots that Lulu talks about.
Yeah.
If you can make me laugh, I might remember that more than other things. Like,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because laughter's a great thing. I think we've spent so many hours now just finding like the funniest matches, and just binging them.
And like the funniest skits as well.
Yeah, and like just the skits and everything. And so you talk about Toriano. Was it us that showed us Toriano? Was it us that showed you Toriano, or
It was me.
yes, it was.
It was me.
Yeah.
Because I watched G1 with him, and he's in the G1 every year. So,
And again, I'm assuming it was the same reason with Orange Cassidy that you were just like, he's really funny. I just need to see this guy.
That's basically how it goes.
I think your first Toriano match would have been Toriano Naito from the G1 Climax 29, which is with the t-shirts where they go, "Are you going to take off a t-shirt? I'll take off my t-shirt. You take off."
Again, any matches that we talk about on this show, especially like the comedy ones, you've just got to witness them to enjoy them. Like looking up Toriano, looking up Orange Cassidy, the best thing you could do.
Talking about that doesn't do them justice. Just watch them.
Yeah, explaining the spots never gives it justice. So, if comedy wrestling is one of your favorite bits, do you still enjoy the more serious side of wrestling, or are you more kind of, I'm not saying closed-minded, are you more like a single track, like, okay, I like comedy wrestling, but I'm not sure if I can get into anything else?
Oh no, I can get into like a story and stuff, but it's more memorable for me, like the comedy of matches. But like good spots or good stories are still amazing.
Yeah.
Like I still reference the specific Will Ospreay versus Ibushi spot.
Oh,
I reference that constantly.
Oh yeah. It's still one of the best. Like high flying spots in.
Let's be real. The reason why we all remember it is because there's so many JoJo's edits of it.
That's
What's a JoJo?
I'm not saying that's wrong. No, it's a JoJo. But yeah, so since wrestling is completely real, it's good to see that there's some people that could take it so lightheartedly and be funny while doing very, actually trying to fight each other.
This is going to be quite a loaded question, because it's still one of the biggest questions and arguments that people have on wrestling is, do you think that comedy wrestling hurts the business?
No. It's like saying, do you think comedy movies hurt the business of movies? Wrestling's an art form first and foremost, I think. If you can do something and you can do it well, that's what should be important.
Yeah, that's basically the way I would explain it as well. I'm not sure about Lulu and Breaker. So one of them turns around and goes, no comedy.
I agree. I like comedy wrestling. I actually don't think it hurts anything.
I mean, I'm no fan of Jim Cornette, but I get where he's coming from, right? Because he has a very specific view of how wrestling should be. I have a very specific view of how wrestling should be. Really, I just think I'm a bit more open-minded than he is. Yeah. But comedy wrestling done poorly really hurts it. That's I think more important to say. Comedy wrestling done well is still good wrestling, but comedy wrestling done poorly is the worst wrestling.
Well, a lot of wrestling, because you'd say like hardcore wrestling done poorly is even worse though.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of things. If you do it poorly, it'll hurt the business. Yeah. But
the thing is that a hardcore match done wrong will hurt the performers. A comedy match done poorly will hurt like people's ability to like get into the sport. Not get into it, but like give into the illusion.
It kind of adds to Breaker's idea of like over exaggeration, where you've gone to the point of no return, where it's so stupid to the point of what are you doing? It's, I think, like a very polarizing match that kind of would encapsulate that. And for us, we love it, but it's Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. It's such a 50-50 match. To people like us, we love the match. It's everyone's in on the joke. Bryce Remsburg, the referee, does a fantastic job in selling literally everything that happens in the match, and it's one of the funniest matches. To an outsider, it is a man in a referee shirt pretending that two people are wrestling in front of him, and the crowd are stupid enough to believe it. So it's that exaggeration that's so over the top that's when like, you know, Cornette's opinions can be valid.
And I think
you need to. I think I got an example of a bad comedy wrestling match, and it was in WWE. During 2016, I believe it was the fashion that fashion team with Fandango and
Fashion Police.
Fashion Police, that's it.
Yeah, Fandango and Breeze.
Breezango, that's thank you. And it was that bit where they like had a tanning bed incident or something.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who they fighting, but every spot was basically them slapping on the tan marks and then going ooh, ow. And that's the point where when once it's funny, the other time just
Yeah, that's a very good example of poor comedy.
What were you gonna say, Flips?
I don't think that ruins your ability to enjoy other matches. I think you need to be able to have a suspension of disbelief and understand that not everything's going to be perfect.
Yeah,
it just kills the crowd enjoyment.
I think I'd be more concerned if that's your first match. If your first match is Breezango getting slapped around because of a tan, or Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan, that's a really weird first match to show someone.
Because one of them makes sense. One of them you can explain, the other one you can't. You just have to witness it.
The thing is, though, I've had people, you know who I'm referencing, right? Who we couldn't really get them into wrestling until we tried to show them comedy matches, and they super got into those.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So I think there is something for everyone there. It's because wrestling to me has always been more of a dance, right? It's an art, it's a dance, and you're trying to entertain at the end of the day.
Okay. Would that be how you would like explain your perception of wrestling today? Like it is an art form where people want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm. I think it is.
That's a really
except for the fact that's completely real.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes.
Sissy dance, you can say.
Yeah, that's again another very good and valid opinion on wrestling.
Okay, well, we've let you to last for a specific reason, haven't we, Ian?
Yes, we have, and I'm going to leave
Even
it.
though you're the host.
I'm going to leave it to the end of my origin story because it's the most important part of the origin story. But similar to Flips, I came in around 2007. I don't remember the match, but I remember that it was on SmackDown, and it was The Undertaker's entrance. And it was just this, what is this scary dude in black with smoke around him? And he's walking to the ring? I'm scared. I'm like 7 at this time. I was terrified of everything. But I got into it because my mum was into it. My mum's been watching wrestling since the 90s. Favorite wrestler's always been Stone Cold, as everyone else's is in that time. But it didn't really catch on around that time. I think it was just because I was too young. I still played the games. I humble brag, I own every single fucking like mainline game.
Same.
Humble brag, dab.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't really catch on for me, but it was around 2011 and it was a one specific promo that brought me back in, and it was the CM Punk pipe bomb, which I'm very surprised it's taken us to this point to talk about the CM Punk pipe bomb, because
I found out about that way after it started.
Yeah,
to be fair, the only one of us who experienced it live would have been you and Flips.
Yeah, and I do remember that, but I was so young that I was like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I just remember because it's kind of similar to Breaker, where people saying that like, oh, wrestling's fake. That's when I kind of realized that wrestling was like, predetermined. And and I kind of like, and I think I've said this to you guys before, I kind of like Tom Campbell's perception of when people find out wrestling is fake, because it's like a magic trick, and you find out that magic isn't real. I'm sorry to everybody who I've just ruined. Sorry. But then you have two mindsets. You're either like, what the hell, I've been duped, like this is terrible, and you leave it. Or you go, oh, it's fake? Let me investigate further, and you then start to get more into it, and it doesn't matter that it's fake, it's more the fact that you're intrigued on why this fake sport is so loved and what makes it.
How they do it.
Yeah, how do they do it? How do they, how does it work? And that was definitely, I think that's safe to say, that's what happened to all of us. We chose that route, not the other route. But that CM Punk promo was that realization of, oh, wrestling still can be quote unquote real, but can also not be at the same time. The things he was saying were true, and the things that he was talking about were real, but it was still in the concept of this fake sport, and it blew my mind listening to it. But I only stayed on for a few more years because I've had 2 breaks in wrestling.
I just to carry anything there with that is a very similar promo, and one in the Super Eye Patch Wolf, one of his video essays, is Triple H's when he's going back into the world title picture after he'd been shoved down the card because of the curtain call, where it's this like halfway between the real person of Paul Levesque and the character of Triple H.
Yeah, those kind of promos I think are so strong that they just bring you in with that like, ooh, I felt that. I'm excited for this person now. But it wasn't exciting enough for me because I left wrestling again. But unlike Breaker, who had people saying it was fake, when I got to secondary school, nobody liked wrestling. As in, nobody talked about it ever. So I was the only person that knew about wrestling and just stopped watching it because I had no one to talk to. Sad emoji. Sad cry.
Enough for you now.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I was introduced to you guys, and then I found a few people who were from school, who were a bit, like a few years older, who were still watching it, and one of them said, oh, you should watch this match, because it's 6 stars. That match is Omega Okada #1. And this was my very, very first introduction into independent wrestling, and New Japan in particular as well. And that match blew me away. It was, and it still is, one of my favorite matches of all time. Just from the story. Again, story aspect in the case of the enclosed in the match, because I didn't know anything about New Japan. But the story they told in the match, all the spots were like pinpoint perfect, and just, yeah, it was definitely worth breaking the Dave Meltzer ratings for. But that was definitely the match that made me go, okay, I'm ready to get invested in wrestling. Yeah, it was that was definitely the big one. But I didn't watch New Japan until 2020, until last year when the New Japan Cup started, and I bought New Japan World, and we all just started watching it together as friends, and it was really fun.
Big wholesome
moment. But what made me stay in wrestling for a lot longer is the surprise little fact about me is I'm currently training to be a professional wrestler. I
Is
started.
that a fucking pipe bomb?
That is a
Like, yes,
pipe
Gasp,
bomb.
shock, and awe.
we've been duped and quite possibly bamboozled.
So I've been training to wrestle at the House of Pain Wrestling Academy in Nottingham, England, and I've been going there since December of 2018 and have been now still going almost every single week, obviously 2020 being the exception to that. And yeah, 2 years of wrestling, and the reason I bring it up is because that's kind of my perception of wrestling changed so much because of learning the inside of wrestling. For me, I love the story aspect of everything. I like to be able to tell a story in the match, which then leads on to next week, which leads on to the next match, and you build this story arc through many weeks of build, and create this story that people are entertained by and gripped by, because you can tell every match should have a story, is my opinion. I don't know if people agree with that, but I feel like it's very hard to just have a throwaway match that's going to be entertaining. Is the key point. An entertaining throwaway match, I think, is very difficult to have unless there is still a story. And it can be as simple as, oh no, the good guy's leg is injured. Oh no, the bad guy is 7 foot tall while the good guy is 4'6". Like, bit of an exaggeration, but you get the point. Hornswoggle versus Great Khali. But yeah, that is my perception of wrestling, is that wrestling should have a story to it. It's a weird one because I've been bringing up family shows and like holiday camp shows a lot. It's because that's kind of the shows that we're learning to do first. That's my style of wrestling, and House of Pain's style of wrestling is family show. Even though, House of Pain, you think, "Ooh, are you sure about that?" Yeah, that's the style that I've been taught to do, and it's why I quite like the style, but I can appreciate why some people don't like the style. But for me, that's the family shows are the best example of being able to tell someone a story without them knowing anything about you, other than you're a bad guy, you're a good guy.
Actually reminds me, have any of you watched like house shows before? Like, what's your deal with house shows?
I've never been to a WWE house show or anything like that. I've been to a couple of family shows. Like the biggest one in the UK is Mega Slam. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it being advertised in your area.
I've seen it advertised. I've never been to it.
That is the big example of family show where they come into the town for one evening. They do some matches. Everyone's having a good time, and then they go. I think I would like to go to a house show because I think it would be very interesting to see how different it is.
Yeah, I just obviously these guys know I have been to a Raw and SmackDown taping.
Yes, lucky man.
Yeah, which if you know the fact that I've been to both of them, you can work out exactly which show I went to in 2019. And you might even be able to see me in the crowd. I don't think you can, but we got the Daddy's Home chant over for Rusev.
Nice.
That was us. Besides that, I've not ever actually had any live wrestling experiences.
Flips?
But that was like a 5.5 hour show, so
yeah. Flips, did you have any house show experiences or just like live show experience?
Yeah, I've gone to 2 in my life, both through WWE, and I was too young to remember everything except for one spot. I remember one spot clear as day. Clear as day. It's just the shining beacon in my mind. It is my backstory. It's the driving force when you think about it. So it was a house show really long time ago. I was small, and it was a match. It was Daniel Bryan versus someone, and I can't remember who it was. But the important thing was Daniel Bryan and him were running at each other, right? Daniel Bryan stops, looks up and points at the ceiling. So the other guy looks up, and then Daniel Bryan drop kicks him.
Oh my god, I love it. I immediately love it and want to now steal it. So thanks, I'll take that. Thanks.
You say that live recorded.
No evidence.
Yeah.
No witnesses. Bang bang.
I like you only killed 2 of us.
Bang. No.
Bang is copyright of Kenny Omega. You can't use it.
Oh yeah,
No,
sorry.
Bang is
Well-
copyright McFoley.
Oh no, I'm being sued by 2 people now.
What about Bang Energy?
No.
Sponsor us, Ian Drinks. You can non-stop.
But yeah, I think that's basically all our perceptions of wrestling. We've got the wrestler who likes.
We've got 3 people who are smarks and 1 person killing the business.
Hell yeah! We got the one who likes the stories, the one who likes the technical mechanics, the one who likes the entertainment and comedy side, and one who likes the exaggeration over the topness of it.
I'm pretty sure you just said 5 people, but I'm not quite sure.
And we've also joined by Barry, the ghost.
Barry the ghost, yeah, it's Barry the ghost.
We're not making a jingle.
Damn it!
No, we're not. No.
This segment's going on too long. Cut it now.
My point is that although we have differing opinions on our perceptions of wrestling, all 4 of us are still good friends who are able to watch the same shows and enjoy the same wrestling together, which I think is such a good thing about wrestling. Is there's so many different varieties to it that you can love everything. You can love everything, you can love a specific thing, but getting a good community around it doesn't matter what your opinion is. Wrestling is just great.
Who's this Mark who says we're good friends?
Yeah. This wasn't in the script.
So with that giant segment out the way, it's on to the next mini segment. That is Free Ep Sales Rep. This is Breaker's very first one, so he has been informed on what's going on. But this week, it's my turn.
Do you want me to run down the rules before you do it?
Go for it.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes or so dedicated to Free App Sales Rep. So this week, Ian is going to bring up an item of entertainment media. Doesn't have to be anything specific. I don't remember what he's picked this week, to be honest. He will have up to 90 seconds, which I have on the stopwatch here, and you might hear my phone go off when it's finished. So that will be fun to edit around. So he'll have 90 seconds to tell us all about it in basically as short a summary as he can on the basis of what you could reasonably cover in about 3 episodes of an anime's worth of time, so about an hour. So he gets basically an hour worth of content or whatever it is. He gets to give us a synopsis about it. Ian, you have 90 seconds. Tell me when you would like to start.
Give me like 7 minutes. Okay. Let's go now.
Okay,
All right.
Your time start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I didn't bring a movie today. I actually brought a video game, and this video game is called Friday Night Funkin'. It's a game on Newgrounds that was made by a creator called Ninja Muffin 99. And to basically summarize it, it is DDR, but with PCs. So with your keyboard. And the idea is that you are this small sprite, and you go about playing these songs against different characters, and it's like rapping. It's like a rap battle. But so it's DDR, rap battle, and you use your keyboard to play DDR, basically. And the music is fantastic. It's by Kawaii Sprite. I will play some of it for them later, and hopefully next week they can tell me how good it is. But the art style is fantastic. All the characters look amazing. The music is godly, and it comes out fairly regularly. It's been out since like 2003, I believe, and like even like just now they've released the 6th week of it. So I'm very excited to play that. But yeah, I feel like this segment's going to be a lot easier with questions, so I'm going to end my bit there.
I was going to say,
You
I think
finished
I've seen that more on
remaining.
How long, sorry?
11 seconds
Okay.
remain.
Okay, I didn't have much else to say. So yeah, Friday Night Funkin', the video game.
I think I saw that more on Twitter. That like I saw like these three characters like on the car with a DJ or something.
Yeah, that is the character of the boyfriend, the girlfriend, and the mom.
Ah,
So, like, you say it's like DDR on your PC, on your keyboard. So, like, what differentiates this from, like, playing Osu or something like that?
I was gonna say Club Penguin DDR.
You know what? Now that I think about it, is basically like the Club Penguin one because you use the arrow keys to play each like up, down, left, right. So you just use the arrow keys. What changes it from Osu is that it's quote unquote a battle. So yeah, so you have different segments, so you're not just playing the game constantly. You're playing your section, then they play their section, and then you create this song using DDR tactics. Just saying DDR tactics as if it's like a strategy game.
It can't beat Mario DDR. That's a strategy game then.
Any questions? Any more questions?
Can you add it like your music, or
Say again, sorry.
can you add your music? Or is it-
That's a really good point that I didn't add. They actually have a really good modding community in which people have made like their own sprites. Like I've got some mods where I've got my boyfriend is Hatsune Miku. The mom is now Vib Ribbon. She's Vibri from Vib Ribbon.
That's a throwback.
Yeah. I've got Megalovania. I've got the Scatman on it. Like, there's loads of different mods for it, and like, it's just such a good modding community that they just make anything basically, and you can just put it into the game super easily. It's also free. The game's free.
Ian, you mentioned then that it was on Newgrounds. And I thought, no, obviously Newgrounds has persisted, but how do I play this game? Because Flash has stopped being supported by all these.
It's not a Flash game.
Yeah, it's not a Flash game. It is.
Doesn't you guys have
I'm loading it up right now. Actually, you sold me.
Doesn't you guys have like its own Flash player now, or something equivalent to it?
Not because it's on itch and stuff too. I think it's probably.
You can download the game itself as its own .exe file off of itch, which is what I've done. That's the way you can get the mods, is by downloading the game onto the PC, not just playing it through Newgrounds. But you can play it for free on Newgrounds. Literally just look up Friday Night Funkin'. It should be the first option.
It's not that. It sounds like it'd be on Steam as well.
It's like, not. It's because it's free. It's a free game.
The thing is on Steam.
No. I don't think they've just put it on Steam. I think they've stuck to Newgrounds and they've made it free on itch. And yeah.
Fair enough, actually.
Yeah. Any more questions? For any more questions? There's not much I can really say about it other than like play the game, because it's very hard to tell you like, oh, the music's great, because I can't play the music because it's copyrighted and YouTube will probably execute me. So I implore you to go and play the game. And there's different difficulties like you would expect for rhythm games, and it's all separated by weeks, and each week has a different character. So you've got like the first week is you fight the girlfriend's dad, called Daddy Dearest, I think his name is. You then play against Skid and Pump, who are a skeleton and a pumpkin. They're really cute. They stand on each other's shoulders. It looks really cute. You play Pico, who is I don't know if it's his actual name, but it's the Newgrounds character, like the official Newgrounds character with like the ginger hair and the
army
top.
The army guy, or
I don't know. I'll put him on. I'll put these on screen.
Oh, you mean that blonde guy, on that blonde avatar guy?
I honestly don't remember. This is just what someone's told me, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, the characters are fantastic. If I had to give a bit of a downside to it, because I think that's only fair, is that there isn't really a story. The way I was saying you're having rap battles against people, it's kind of just the songs, and
I mean, like, rhythm games don't really need a story.
yeah, like it would be very nice if they had like a bit of animation to show a bit more of the characters and stuff like that. But you get the idea. I forgot to mention what makes the game, in my opinion, so memorable is that the rapping isn't in a language. It's basically animalese from Animal Crossing. So it's just it's like beeps and boops. It just works. I don't know how.
I can have a rap battle with KK Slider.
You are basically having a rap battle with KK Slider. Does that sell it to you?
I'm gonna be honest. I probably won't play it. So because I'm not a huge rhythm games person.
That's understandable. I would still recommend.
But you did a good job of selling it.
I would still recommend you listening to the music, though.
Well, I'm sure you'll play some of it for us.
Yes, I will. I was gonna say not now, but hopefully they will. I will show it them. Flips and Breaker.
I'm just beating Thorn.
I probably should have said one name, not both of you. Breaker.
I'm a big rhythm games fan, so I'll try out.
Definitely, hell yeah. Flips.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I played it.
You're playing it now.
Yeah, I beat Thorns. I don't know what that is, but I did it.
Nice. All right, sweet. So that's 2 yeses and a not really. So I'm happy with that. And with that, we've just gone over 10 minutes, so we're going on to the next segment.
The Who.
We're keeping it. All right, we're on to the next segment. This is the weekly merch review or haul that we got. Basically, to get Breaker up to speed, it's just all the stuff that we've bought, and we're also looking at the new arrivals on the Pro Wrestling tees and picking our worst shirt and our favorite shirt. So, does anyone want to start us off with stuff that they've bought?
I'll start off with what we've bought.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I bought more AEW stuff.
I would not have guessed.
I know. I got another figure, guys.
Hell yeah. Which one this time?
This one this time is the exclusive Cody, because I bought the UK exclusive AEW action ring.
Hell yeah.
Which is the normal size ring, not the scale ring. That's like £150 or something like that.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But in the UK, it's £10 more expensive, but you get a Cody figure with it. I believe it's the pants, tights, whatever you want to call it, and belt he wore on the first episode of Dynamite.
Okay.
As a different outfit, because the main Cody figure from Series 1 is his Double or Nothing outfit.
That is a good point, yes.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, it looks like a really good ring.
I haven't built it yet. I'm sure when I actually have space to put it up somewhere, I'll probably have one of the 2 Kennys I own in it.
Brag that he has 2 Kennys and hasn't sent us one.
I didn't know there was 2 Kennys. I didn't know there was 2 Kennys.
There are 2 Kennys, but I have 2 of the first Kenny because I have an American one and I have a UK release one. They're the same figure. But yeah, it does look pretty good. The box is massive in comparison to the other figures. And there's only one complaint I have about it is because of Cody in it, it's damaged the back of the box.
Oh.
There's like a bulge in the cardboard at the back of the box.
Oh, that's
well.
The value's gone now.
I know. And an additional thing, I've also ordered a Nick Jackson figure.
Nice.
Because apparently, I didn't think Series 3 was meant to come out until the end of February, but it was on Smith's for order. I was like, yeah, why not? That's out of stock, so
I can add to my burgeoning addiction of figurines.
I only got 11.
Only 11. Yes. For myself, I am still waiting on the Brody Lee tribute shirt to arrive. I really hope it's going to arrive soon. But fingers crossed on that one. But I have to bring sad news to the podcast. One of my merch has been unfortunately destroyed in a freak accident. So I hope you guys are sitting down. So I have a figurine of Zolo from One Piece, and it's what makes it even worse is that this is the very first figurine I ever bought.
The fact you call it Zoro.
Yeah, because I don't know what to call it. It's one of them's called it in that country. It's called that in another country. I don't know. I haven't watched One Piece that much. I just
I thought you were doing the purple eyes joke of he's called Zoro because in England they call not in England in the English version there's two different dubs. One's called Zoro and one called Zolo.
That's basically where I was going for, but I didn't know it was a Purple Eyes reference.
It was, yeah.
But the sad news is that my stand that was on my wall fell off the wall, and it's now basically broke. The handles of the swords that he's got have all fallen off and are missing. I've actually lost them, and his leg has snapped off. My dad's trying to fix it. I'll obviously put a picture up, and please, sensitive warning there. It's a gruesome sight.
So use that as a profile and the thumbnail for this podcast.
I just edit on a single tear.
Single tear onto my face. But yeah, that's the only thing on mine. I wanted to talk about the really sad thing that broke. All the other figurines
I'm sorry,
were
Ian,
fine.
for your loss.
I had like 3 other figurines on it, and they're all fine. For some reason, Zolo was just like, "Well, time to go," and it just jumped off a bit further than everyone else.
A moment of silence for the Zolo figure.
So, Breaker, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I bought nothing.
Excellent. Flips, is there anything you want to talk about?
We talked about this before we started the thing. Yes, I have nothing to talk about.
Excellent. Just clarifying for the folks at home. So that brings us to the best and the worst. Which one do we want to start on? We'll start on the
Let's
best.
end on a positive note. So let's start.
Get the bad out of the way.
Okay, so for our decision on the worst shirt of this current crop of new arrivals, we have decided, and I'll put it on screen, to pick the Only Slams t-shirt by Nyla Rose. Okay, we get it. OnlyFans.
I don't mind it. Okay, look, I wasn't involved in this. I wasn't involved in this decision process at all, by the way. So I think it's a pretty clever shirt, but nobody else does. So you know.
The
I
fact
think it's really funny. So
I get it that it's the joke, but I'm never ever going to wear it anywhere.
Yeah, I can
like
only see it as
buying-
getting confused as an OnlyFans shirt.
Yeah, and this is my age restrict the podcast. It's like basically wearing a Pornhub shirt in public. Who does
Weekly.
that?
Look,
I mean,
do you know how many people I've seen wear a Higo like hoodies?
yeah,
like-
I've seen loads of people. Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, but they're weebs. They're not.
damn.
Yeah, we expect
yeah, but
that
like,
from weebs.
I think people were like really brave and wear those t-shirts. I actually kind of respect that because like they just don't give it. They don't care.
There's things that you just have to do for the bit, you know?
Yeah.
Lulu, you've been quiet on this. What are you thinking about this shirt?
I said I can't. I agree. I can't see you wearing it, and it's just not that interesting a t-shirt, really. Like the only thing beside the fact that they've stuck Nyla's name on it that indicates her is the slightly faded out hand, but it's the different color from her normal one because it's normally red, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's got to match with the blue of the OnlyFans logo, and I just don't think it's that good. I just think it looks it somehow both stands out too much, but is so generic at the same time.
Yeah. I do like the point that you would, if it didn't say Nyla Rose, whose shirt is it? An honorable mention for the worst is the Sugar Dunkerton Wholesome Gang. Okay.
That's not actually the best.
It's
It's amazing.
It's a good shirt. I really like it, but it's just the Wu-Tang Clan. The Wu-Tang Clan have very good reason to be able to file a lawsuit against Sugar Dunkerton.
So
Yeah, I know. Like the Wu-Tang Clan, they could just steal the shirt off you.
That's a very
It's
good
like-
point.
maybe the Wu-Tang Clan probably endorse it. Knowing that.
Actually, to be fair, they might do.
You know what?
Yeah.
Then again, it's the best shirt. It's one of the best shirts then. Honorable mention for the best. Why not?
It's an honourable mention for the paradox of insanity that is life in this era.
I thought you guys did life of wrestling.
Wrestling is just a byproduct.
So moving on to the best, and I kind of pushed for this one. I kind of hope that you guys also agreed. But the shirt that we picked from the new arrivals is the Chris Hero Peachy t-shirt. What immediately stands out for me is the fact that it's not black. Like, you get to a point where you open your drawer to get out some wrestling merch, and you realize that 90% of your clothing is black because all you buy is wrestling merch. So
the man with 6 bullets.
I could be that guy.
So to me, I really like that it's on orange, and the art style is really nice. I think it stands out for me. I really like Chris Hero, just because of in a respect way. I think I can really respect what he's done for the wrestling business. I just think it suits him really well. Any thoughts?
I don't disagree. I like it too. It's definitely different. I like the yellow. I like the color scheme on it. It's a really different color scheme because it's I don't actually know what the color is. That's the contrast color, but it's a really interesting color. It's
kind of like a faded maroon in a way.
I guess, but it just looks so different to anything else that I really like it. And it's a full print. It's not just the top half. Yeah. It is a full length print, which I like as well.
It's cool. I don't know. I don't see myself wearing it.
That's fair.
But it's cool.
We'll get you another black shirt. It's all right.
Does it only come in the long sleeve?
Wait, what?
Were we talking about the Wholesome Gang one?
No. Stop playing Friday Night Funkin' in the background. We stopped the podcast after we'd finished the free ep section, and Flips went really quiet, only to discover he's been playing Friday Night Funkin' while we were still recording the podcast.
Thank you.
I appreciate that you really like the game, but god damn it!
We're recording.
Oh no, it's the yellow one. Okay. No. Yeah, no, I still don't. I don't wear t-shirts like that though, and you know that they're too complex. People stop you in the street, ask if they could see your t-shirt.
You get that? No, I don't.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Americans do things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't do that here. We just have anxiety.
Yeah, we just avoid all social interaction.
We just hate each other over in England.
Yeah, look at the floor, listen to music, and ignore all the other people.
Yes. But another honorable mention for the best, and I would wear this shirt. It's the Will Ospreay Billy Goat long sleeve. Now, look
So let's point out Ospreay now has a 50% record on getting an honorable mention on the vest and the worst.
The actual worst. Honestly, I've been wearing a lot more long sleeves recently, and I could see myself wearing it. I think it's a really cool style. I think I would prefer it if it didn't say Billy Goat.
I think that's one of the best parts about it. I disagree, but
recreated too sweet. Would you like to please recreate the "I'm a Billy Goat, hear me roar" promo for us all?
No. But yeah, I think that's definitely a step up from the last week's shirt. But I think we had a. I don't think the crop of shirts this time have been that great.
I didn't really see one that was yes, that's the best shirt. Clearly,
yeah. I think the Chris Hero one.
Nothing matched the Danhausen shirt last time.
Oh, the Danhausen shirt was great. I think that's why the Chris Hero one stands out, is that it was in a sea of black shirts, and then you go, ooh, there's an orange one. Then you look closer, it's Chris Hero, and everything like that.
Genuinely, Ian, I've just gone and looked. There are 4 different shirts that aren't black. There's the Chris Hero one. There is 2 Matt Taven. Is it Taven or Taven? However you say his name. There's a Matt Taven pink shirt, and there's a Matt Taven purple shirt, and there's the Nyla shirt. everything else on it is black, apart from the Chris Hero.
Yeah.
Customize
Normalize wrestlers using more than one color on merch.
Wait, can't you customize colors?
You can on some.
On some, but not all of them.
I realized I completely understand that like it's not viably possible financially, because if you print it on a different colored shirt, it can be more expensive. But it's always nice to see. It's always nice to see a wrestler do something that isn't black. And I think with all that, I think it's time to move on to the final segment of the show. So of course, as of like the second episode, we're back with the last segment, which is Ian hasn't seen anything.
Oh, because he's not seen anything.
Hell yeah. So last week we talked about Die Hard, the first one. I really enjoyed it. It's the best Christmas movie. Okay, fair enough. I said it.
Oh, you started.
No, we're not. We did this last week. You missed this conversation, Breaker. It's your fault.
But you just punched the bag.
It's on you.
This is
what happens when you're sick.
How dare you? Inconvenience us.
How dare you, sir?
As we said in the last podcast episode as well, I've said that 3 times now. I have watched Mad Max Fury Road from 2015. And I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I knew very little about Mad Max other than cars and action. So I had no kind of like no kind of thoughts going into it already. I was just like, okay, I'm finally gonna get to watch a Mad Max. I hope I'm gonna enjoy it. And I did. It was really, really fun. I think that's the best way I would describe it, is just a fun movie with like just the action sequence were fantastic. The intro was really, really, really nice. For some reason, the line, it was hard to know who was more crazy, me or everyone else. That really stuck out to me, which I think that was a really good like.
We live in a society.
It really was a we live in a society moment.
Yeah, it was the first one, if you think about it.
I didn't really know any of the actors until I saw one character. I couldn't tell you a Tom Hardy film, basically.
Except the fact that you do a Bane impression, and he's Bane.
Yeah, he does a Bane impression. Has never seen the Batman movie with Bane in. I think he was.
Go to Ian, not us.
He was really good. He was really, really good in this. But I need to get this off my chest, guys. I did know one person after looking it up. The character Rictus, who is Immortan Joe's like son. Yeah, it's meant to be like his son.
Yes.
In it. It's played by Nathan Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but Nathan Jones used to be a wrestler for WWE.
Oh, for God's sake. I know where you're going behind.
Yeah? Nathan Jones was a wrestler in the early 2000s who wrestled on SmackDown. And he was being trained by The Undertaker on TV. He was meant to have a tag team match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania against A-Train and The Big Show. But they realized a few weeks before that he was shit. So they took him out of the match. And he came out, did one big boot to A-Train, and he did nothing else in WWE. He left.
Oh, wow.
So it made me laugh when I found out that he was Rictus in Mad Max Fury Road.
We should point out as well, we have nothing against Nathan Jones, the actual guy.
Nothing against Nathan Jones, the actual guy. He just wasn't very good at wrestling. And you know what?
He's probably a really nice guy, and you were good in this film.
You know what? Really good casting for Rictus, personally. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts of Mad Max. Any questions? Like we did last time.
I'm trying to think of like...
But yeah, because Mad Max is a big film. It's got a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen in it. So what did you think of like the story?
That's a good question, because I wasn't sure what the story was for the first half an hour. I quite liked it because it's basically it's playing off post-apocalyptic, where it's like this Furiosa's trying to save these women from Joe by taking them to the place where she was born, where everything is green and healthy and beautiful. And spoilers, it's not like that anymore. It's all gone. It's all ruined and barren.
You maniacs.
Yeah, and I think it was a nice, simple story. I think I was a bit worried when I was seeing like all these really out there weird characters. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna understand any of this.
That's my question. What did you think of the Doom Warrior? The Doom Warrior?
The what? The which one? Sorry,
the flamethrower guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the best character. He was the best. I think I put something on here. It's like, oh yeah, I put Jesus. How long has that guy been playing for? But
apparently that guitar worked as well.
Yeah.
But really, it's an actual guitar. It does that.
Yeah, but I know, but it apparently worked, but it sounds really terrible.
Yeah, I really liked that character, and I really liked a little subtle thing. So I listen with headphones when I'm watching these, and I liked. And this is probably something that most movies do, but I've just never noticed the very subtle panning of stuff. Where like, there was a scene where like Joe was driving, but then he was driving past the guitarist, and as the guitarist went past, you could feel the music go onto the left side of your ear and like slowly fade away, like towards the middle. It was really, 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 really cool. Yeah, I mean, most of the story, once it got into it, made sense, but I don't think the story. There didn't need to be much of a story. Kind of like how Die Hard was like, these terrorists have taken over the tower, and Bruce Willis is gonna save everyone. You kind of had that same story where it was like, this person's trying to save these people, this person is just kind of trying to survive, and this guy wants to kill the betrayer.
Wow, Bruce Willis also deals with family problems.
Yes, of course.
So, like, what would you say is your favourite moment of action in Mad Max Fury Road, then? Because obviously I did classify it as an action movie.
I think my favorite piece of action is probably the first chase when they're going. Is it the Buzzards? The very first like gang they face.
Yeah,
that one, that scene, and then moving into the sandstorm scene was my favorite action sequence. Just because of, I think it really caught me off guard how good it was going to be. When obviously I had no idea what Mad Max was like, and I was like seeing all these like really cool cars like coming in, and like, whoa, it's a big bulldozer one with a crane. Oh, it's one with a guitar on it. Oh, it's one with massive fire. Like, it was like such an overload for the head, but at the same time it was so cool. Everything just worked and made sense in the story. Like the little like character nuances where like the war boys would shout like "witness me" when they were trying to like, they would sacrifice themselves so they could get into the doors of Valhalla. I think that was just really subtle, but also really good, and just a really, really fun action sequence. Not saying that the other action sequences were bad. My only gripe is when they get stuck in the mud and Max goes to get the supplies from the ammo guys. I forget what they're called.
Yeah.
And they don't show anything. He just comes back with supplies and they're now dead.
See, I find that really interesting that you don't like that, Ian.
It was I like the fact that it was like, oh, this makes him seem like a badass, but it kind of left me, because it was so soon after like a lot of action. I was kind of like, oh, I'm ready to see more. I'm ready to see him take him on his own. And
the point of Max as a character in Mad Max Fury Road, which is a film named after him that he is not the main character of, because Furiosa's the real protagonist.
Yes,
is he sort of meant to be kind of legendary in a way? He's kind of sort of meant to be just like he's kind of a mystical figure, basically, is the way that they've built him up through to Fury Road, because obviously it used to be played by Mel Gibson. This Fury Road has been in production hell for over 30 years. Like, it was supposed to get made in like the 90s.
Oh, right.
And has been trying to make this film since like the 1990s, late 80s, and he's never been able to do it until 2015, basically.
Right.
But that is sort of meant to add to Max's mystique. That's why you don't see it.
Right, okay. Now that you've mentioned it, that does make sense. I did kind of like that the only thing you knew about Max was that he kind of just wanted to try and survive, and he seemed to have PTSD. I'm assuming the PTSD is mentioned in the other Mad Maxes.
I was going to say about your bit about the story. Say, if you want like arguably a better story, go watch the old Mad Maxes as well. They have like arguably a better story.
I don't think I missed anything by not watching the original Mad Maxes.
Oh no! A lot of people watch Fury Road first, then watch the old ones.
Yeah, I think it definitely intrigues me to go and watch the first ones. Yeah, I think I would definitely be intrigued to watch the older ones to see where it's come from. But I think that's basically everything that I wanted to say about.
Do you get a lovely day out of 10?
Yeah,
lovely day.
Yeah, lovely day.
It is a lovely day. I definitely wouldn't call it mediocre. To get it.
He quoted the line from the film. He's so funny.
I did it.
He said it. He said it.
So
he said the thing.
DiCaprio pointing at TV meme.
All right, let's tease what we're going to be watching next.
Well, I haven't actually decided what to watch next, so you've put me on the spot.
So let's make some really clever jokes about what we're going to watch next, right, Lulu?
Yes, definitely. Let's say that we're going to stray away from action because we've made you watch 2 action films in a row.
You watched like 2 action movies in a row.
No,
I think watch a comedy.
I don't know. We've watched quite a few comedies with Ian, so I'm going to say that we're going to go somewhere out of your comfort zone.
Oh no!
Bit exotic, a bit horror.
No. Oh, I hate you so much.
A bit.
No.
Yeah, we could even say that there's a bit of a Metroid influence because there's definitely a Ridley involved in this one. Because I'm going to make you watch the original Alien.
Oh, I thought
Alien 2. Alien 2.
Oh no!
My favourite film of all time.
Yeah, you're gonna like it. It's not even that scary. It's more atmospheric than scary.
Oh, I have anxiety. This is gonna be the worst. Well,
and on that bombshell,
if you want to see how much I shit myself watching Alien, please be sure to check in on episode 4 of the Geeky Grapplers podcast. But this isn't the outro, which will be next. So with the end of that segment, we've made it to the end of episode 3 of the Geeky Grapplers podcast. We've finally been able to do a podcast with everybody. And yeah, freaking cool, guys. This went really well, in my opinion. It's very long, but we made it. If you really like the podcast, please feel free to like the videos. Please feel free to share it with your friends. Subscribe down below. That'd be really nice. Comment down below if you want to suggest anything, like movies for me to watch. You've got like sections that we could talk about. Any sort of suggestions, really, because we kind of want this podcast to do well, and we'd like to be able to make a nice quality podcast for people to listen to. We do have the Twitter still at Geeky Grapplers. We are trying to make that a bit more active. We're just not very good at Twitter. So yeah, please sure to follow that and pester us at how bad we are doing at the Twitter. That'd be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Or don't.
Or don't. Do what you want. It's free country.
Don't listen to Ian's last part.
But yep, this has been the Geeky Grapplers podcast. My name's been Ian. It's been Lulu, Flips, and Breaker, and we'll catch you all in episode 4.